Hi everyone, Bandanner here. I hope you're all doing well. Another week, another dev blog, and another division being butchered. I did want to put in a video of a butcher hacking away at something here with a meat cleaver, but I couldn't find one that wasn't heavily copyrighted. And Eugen certainly aren't mincing their words. This week's dev blog is called The Big Split, and revolves all around the Berliner Gruppierung, formerly the Unternehmen Zentrum. So they're calling this House Cleaning Part 6 to be known as The Big Split, which covers changes to the Berliner Gruppierung and the new Soviet 6th Guards Separate Motor Rifle Brigade. Their first heading is a special kind of house cleaning. In our Berlin War scenario, the Berliner Gruppierung was tasked with taking that pesky Western imperialistic and hedonistic enclave, West Berlin, through furious house-to-house combat. As such, it would regroup one of the National Volksarmy Division, the 1st Motorisierte Schützen Division, one Soviet brigade, the 6th Guards Separate Motor Rifle Brigade, and one artillery brigade, and on top of that, 4 to 8 KDA battalions, 2 Volkspolizei, and 2 engineer battalions, 1 MO battalion, 9 Grenzer regiments, and they say that's well above 2 divisions in total strength. So they have decided this was a little bit too much, creating a bloated battle group worth of 2 WARNO divisions. High time for some trimming and streamlining. Furthermore, we saw a real reason, looking again at the Warsaw Pact's offensive plan, Operation Zentrum, for taking West Berlin. It called for a two-pronged assault, one from the outer ring, so East German territory attacking inwards, and one from the East Berlin advancing through the city. The other main reason for splitting Berliner Gruppierung into 2 was that the Warsaw Pact has fewer divisions compared to NATO in WARNO's roster. Adding a new division would level the playing field a bit, giving players more choice. Or as I'm now arguing, continuing to remove choice from existing divisions, forcing people to build them in a very particular way. Oh well, Eugen will be Eugen. So let's move on. So what's in store, Berliner Gruppierung? The main change to the Berliner Gruppierung will be the removal of all Soviet units, which will be transferred to the 6th. However, some additional East German units will also find their way into the new Soviet division. Okay, so what actually changes here then? So all Vopos and Fallschirmjäger will be removed from Berliner Gruppierung. One of the 1st Motorisierte Schützen Division regiments will be made available to the Soviet 6th. This is the sole BMP-equipped regiment. This means the Berliner Gruppierung retains only the BTR-70 mounted Mott-Schützen, which will be expanded with new units. The 1st Motorisierte Schützen Division, expected to fight against the enemy within the tight confines of Berlin, never upgraded its KPZ T55A to the KPZ T55AM2 standards, surely because there would hardly be any tank versus tank engagements envisioned. This means that the latter tanks have been removed from the division. Unlike the other NVA motorized rifle divisions, this one had no MTLB Strela 10, again because the air threat wasn't critical around Berlin in the far rear. Instead, this has almost 3 times the allocation of Strela 2Ms. This will be represented in-game. So what are they now getting to replace what's been removed? The 1st Motorisierte Schützen Division core troops will be the BTR-70 transported infantry with some extra training and equipment for urban warfare. To represent this, we've added some new squads. The Mott-Schützen SVD, replacing the RPG with a Dragunov marksman rifle. The Mott-Schützen Strela, replacing the RPG with 1 Strela 2M manpad. And the Mott-Schützen Metis, with a short-range ATGM, and of course the regular Mott-Schützen BTR. With several battalions in support, the division gains access and extra cards of the KDA of Clara, I think that is, and the SPG-9 recoilless rifle teams. The Wacht regiment will also be expanded to include several more squad variants. More artillery will find its way into the Berliner Gruppierung. These include the SFL-H2S1 122mm plus the D20 152mm howitzers and the new World War II era M30 122mm. And while the KPZ T55AM2 gets removed, they get a replacement with extra cards of the KPZ T55A. Air support will feature several new MiG-21 BIS loadouts as well as brand new L-39 Zeo trainers used with the light bomber role, the Warsaw Pact counterpart to the NATO's Alpha Jet. The slot distribution in each Berliner Gruppierung category has been reworked with a greater emphasis placed on logistics, infantry and artillery. Okay, moving on to the 6th. So the 6th Guard Separate Motor Rifle Brigade, created after the Berlin Crisis of 1962, this formation was directly subordinate to the Soviet group forces of Germany and took care of security duties within East Berlin. Next to featuring a sizable contingent of military police and ceremonial troops, it was nonetheless well equipped and trained for any potential urban warfare conflict within the city. So, as mentioned before, the following will be given to the 6th from the Berliner Gruppierung. Most of the Soviet troops and units, all Vopos and their vintage artillery, the ZIS-2 and ZIS-3, East German Mordschützen and their BMP-1s, as well as the KPZ T-55A in a Soviet division nonetheless. I can't quite tell if they're making a joke with that sentence, where they end it with nonetheless, considering that they're removing lots of other nation stuff from most divisions, and now they're adding it to a new division. However, not all units removed from the Berliner Gruppierung will find their way into the new Soviet division. Some units were opted to be cut entirely for balancing and historical reasons. The Buratino, there were only a handful available in real life. They were removed and be more fitting to featured in the Soviet Armoured Fist Division, the 119th, where they can be found now. The Su-17 M4 and the MiG-23 ML, the Fallschirmjäger and variants, and the Motorstrelki and BTR-80, the Soviet brigade was entirely equipped with BMPs only. So what's actually new in this division? As you saw in the previous list, we decided not to port the NVA's Fallschirmjäger squads, but instead created new units fitting the Operation Zentrum's role better. The East German paratroopers were meant to seize the American and French sector airports by air mobile coup de main, using assault helicopters. Therefore, we created a new Luftsturmjäger with the forward deployment trait, but transportable in an assault-equipped Mi-8 helicopter. To escort the East German paratroopers, we added a new armed Mi-2 Ern and an Mi-2 URP Adder helicopters, as well as a Soviet Mi-8 MT Escortini? I think that's right. It's a gunship anyway. Much like NATO's PSSE-B false flag unit for West Berlin, we added the new elite KGB Spetsgruppe A, aka the Alpha Group Recon Saboteur squads, making use of the full range of late 80s civilian models. Artillery support includes the new self-propelled 2S5 Gatsint S 155mm artillery. And not new, but returning to full glory, the T-64 family with the Soviet division's access to the T-64B, the T-64BK, and the T-64BV variants. And taking its cue from the Berliner Gruppierung, we also added the new Soviet L-39th ZO trainers and new MiG-21 BIS variants. Furthermore, the new division's air support will mostly be provided by East German Air Force, fielding older MiG-21 strike aircraft as well as the L-39 ZO trainers. However, there is one more change. We will transfer the 79th Guards Tank Division's long-range MiG-31 Interceptor to the new 6th. This particular plane was operated by the Soviet Air Defense Forces and patrolled Soviet airspace against NATO nuclear bombers and intruders. As a long-range, high-flying, fast-moving interceptor, it was not meant to be used near or over the front line. It makes more sense that the MiG-31B were to be found further back, closer to Berlin, busy guarding the airspace in East Germany in general. It would have pushed forward to fill a gap left by the Soviet 16th Air Army's frontline aviation, or indeed be used to counter the Mirage 4, the F-117A from NATO's Berlin command. To compensate for this change, the 79th Guards Tank Division will gain the new MiG-29 AA-3 with a new anti-air loadout. There is also an addendum to the 2nd UK Infantry Division. With the new and updated East German Soviet divisions out of the way, let's return to the NATO formation already featured in last week's divisional housecleaning, the British 2nd Infantry Division. There is an addendum. So, we are still working and testing the introduction of the new Lynx AH-7 Hellarm with the further improved tow missiles. This unit was developed in the United Kingdom in 1988 and saw limited production in 1990 as one of the first overflight top attack missiles. The United Kingdom created this new weaponry to compensate for the lack of TOW-2 missiles in its helicopter fleet. This type of attack profile means that instead of aiming at the target's center mass, the missile will gain some altitude at the last moment before flying over and exploding above the target. The missile's warhead will riddle the weaker top armor with cluster shrapnel. In WARNO, this missile will be deadly to light armoured or first and second generation tanks, but much less so against the latest main battle tanks featuring, for instance, top armour 3 or more in the game. It also doesn't benefit from flanking, so hitting rear armour, etc. The new Lynx AH-7 FI TOW will be an anti-tank helicopter alongside the existing Lynx Hellarm. This new addition reinforces the UK's 2nd Infantry Division's air mobile component. The new OTA trait was created specifically for this, as well as a dedicated top explosion special effect. Next up, they make a little note that there are new infantry cards, so they're making some adjustments to make things look a bit more realistic, and it'll be gradually rolled out. They go on to rediscuss what divisional house cleaning is about and all the previous changes they've made, but we've been over that before, so we won't do it again. And that's everything for this week. So thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you all soon.